the Lui Diaz Podcast.
Don't you think it's liberating
It is
to
liberating.
be able to talk any way you want to talk? You spelt my name right.
Did
Excellent.
I? Kristi Russell, episode 62.
And
It's
what
not hard. You're the second guest in a row that's actually said that. Who did I have on last week? Joel Temple, who's another comedian. He goes, I can't believe you spelt my name right. Is that a thing that people are worried about these days?
I don't think everyone is, but my name is unusually spelt for Kristi because it's often Christi or it's a Y.
Yep.
I don't know. I have this
Got
thing
that.
about wanting people to, to honour it because my mum gave it to me, so we may as well honour it.
100%. You know, I was reading that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of my favourite
That's an
books
oldie.
ever. Yeah, oldie but a goodie.
Goldie,
Still
yeah,
very relevant
yeah.
today.
More relevant.
As relevant as ever,
Yeah.
I'd say. It's hard to
Yeah.
know if it's more relevant than
Yeah,
it was
it's
at
true
the
because
time.
it's all relative. Yeah.
But, you know, I think I'm just messing around with the sound as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was in the first, in part one. Part one, there's six chapters in part one, and one of them is call people by their name. You know, such a simple thing. And so he emphasizes the importance of people's names. You know,
Yeah.
it's the sweetest thing they've ever heard, he says, or something like that.
It is.
And it's the only thing that they've ever heard since the day they were born, you know, consistently.
Yeah.
It's actually shocking to me that people misspell names. Like, people misspell my name all the time. They spell it
With an S.
L-U-I-Z.
Oh,
L-U-I-Z.
I did it with an S originally
Yeah.
until Sweeney texted me. I'm like, thank God I haven't been in touch with Louis with the S.
Well, that's okay. Well, it actually is with an S.
it
but
should,
but
'cause-
but not for the podcast.
Right. Okay.
You know why? Because when you put an S there, people get so confused. They're like, Louisa, Louis. But as soon as I took the S off, everyone just says Louis.
Oh, I have to take a picture of this.
We do have to get a picture.
Yeah.
Can someone take a picture of us, please? No, we'll get
We'll
that later.
a picture. I have enough snack for a few people walking by as well.
You know,
I thought we should share it.
maybe we should.
Because,
Maybe we should put it here.
Movida has a lot of memories for me.
Really? Movita's
When
just
I was
down
married. Yeah, no, I'm looking right at it.
There. Yeah,
And it's Spanish, right?
yeah.
So I've made a Spanish snack.
You're giving us so much insight. You know, I've started recording already.
Oh, fantastic. You can tell that I love an audience.
Well, you know, I think the thing is that, like, you were right. When you and I started chatting over email, I was like, you know, is there somewhere I should go to do some research on you? And you were like, don't worry. As soon as we start talking, we're just going to go. And I was like, okay, cool. And you're right. That's why I just sneakily press record,
should.
so I don't have to go, oh, no, we're missing some good bits here.
Yeah. We're much better just being
Yeah.
where we're at on this Saturday morning, right? We'll never have this moment again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is
So-
your first
this is
podcast,
beautiful.
right?
I've never been on a podcast. I'm so excited because
How?
I keep getting told to do one.
Yeah.
Years and years.
How is it that you've never been on a
well,
podcast before? Like, have you been off?
I've been offered
Yeah. And?
fear.
Really?
Like, why would anyone want to listen to me? What have I got to say?
Wow.
And this is the weird.
Is that imposter syndrome?
Yeah, totally.
Is that what you would call that? Yeah.
You would call it a lot of things.
Okay.
Imposter syndrome tends to be this lovely umbrella idea, though, because we all have elements of that. I mean, we're all being much more of who we're not in the world than who we are. So we're imposters.
That's so interesting. I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Wow.
Yeah, we are. I mean, that's what all my work is based on that, all my coaching on that.
I love it.
Like, don't worry about change, I say to them, because people don't want to change. I'm like, I get it. Don't worry about change. Let's look at being less of who you're not rather than changing who you are. Just a little bit less of who you aren't. Because if I'm sitting here completely being me. Like, I was reading on your, because I read up, I looked at.
Did you?
I went to your website and stuff for sure.
Reads up on me.
Yeah,
Come
no,
on.
I totally did.
Has it?
Oh, yeah, I was stalking you.
Really?
Yeah. Looked at you on LinkedIn and looking.
Crap.
Yeah.
Oh my
I went
God.
across everything.
I now have to go and vet that stuff.
No, I just noticed I didn't read past unfiltered.
Okay. Okay.
It's the first 3 lines.
Yeah.
Unfiltered something. Anyway, I'm like, unfiltered.
Yeah.
I say to my clients, when you're with me, nothing's off limits. Nothing.
I think we're always trying to sort of navigate each other and navigate society in this world. But when we're dealing in a society where no one's actually being themselves, that's really challenging. You know, we're trying to get from A to B, wherever B is. I don't know. For everyone, it's different, right? But like, it just takes so much longer when you're not being yourself.
Longer and probably more painful, much more suffering.
Yeah.
Much more suffering. We really create so much suffering for ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I can tell you from experience.
I do it to myself every day.
Yeah. So, I guess the initial question is like, well, why you haven't done any other podcasts, and then where you've said that you felt like, why would anyone want to listen to you? I felt like that a lot over my time, so I can totally relate to it. But I mean, people pay to listen to you. People pay you to be
apparently.
Yeah. Do that.
Right? Yeah, a lot.
I guess you're an executive coach, so I imagine that you're charging
leadership
for your
coach.
service.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a funny thing. Take a deep breath and relax.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I didn't let you just relax, did I?
Yeah,
just
you did.
sit in.
You don't need
to
to
the
let
seat
me.
And just go. All right, take a deep breath. We're about to start. We're about to record. Are you ready?
I don't need permission.
No, of course you don't. But you know what I mean. It's like
It's not your responsibility.
I'm comfortable with this experience, and this is your first time.
I'm totally comfortable.
Okay, great.
Do I look uncomfortable?
No. It's just.
Do you think I'm actually going to leave here today?
Well, when my SD card runs out of space, we might have to call it.
Okay.
Or when the red light disappears.
I do have a bit of hay fever though, so I'm just going to get a tissue.
Is it hay fever season?
Well, for me, more so summer than spring.
Really? Wild.
It's the wind.
Lucky. Oh, right.
Just wind.
It is breezy today. And it's dark.
But it's our plane trees in Melbourne. Because they're full of the plane trees, all the trees you see as you come down St Kilda Road and everywhere in our gardens, Melbourne's filled with plane trees, and they are a killer for nostrils.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they like to dance around in the nostril.
I have really aggressive nostril hairs, so...
I can see it spilling out onto your chin.
So, you know, like, I think I'm a little more protected from that than
you might be. Us women, you know, us girls, we got them. We don't want people to know we have. We don't want hair anywhere but on our head.
Eyebrows.
And eyebrows.
Lashes.
And lashes. Everywhere where, as you get older, they seem to slip off from. Yeah. Weirdly. No, we've gone off piste again, and we're going to keep doing this. So I'm going to, because I'm blowing my nose, and I like this chit chat while we're blowing.
That's okay.
I'm blowing.
That's okay. I like it.
Okay.
Yes, we can wave and smile and do whatever we want to as well. People will come, by the way, people will come and chat to us as well.
Great.
Sometimes.
Love it.
Randomly.
Love it.
They may or may not. I can't predict it. I don't pay these people to do this.
If they
just
don't,
rock
I'll
up.
be upset. I tell you, someone better come and chat.
Yeah. Hey.
Can't just sit here with you.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Gosh.
Why? Okay. Why? I've got to answer a question. I'm very good at going off piece. So I have a coach, and she said, "Now don't go down rabbit holes, Kristi."
Oh, really?
I said, "I'm not even preparing for it." She goes, "Oh, you'll be preparing." I'm like, "What? I don't need to prepare for it, do I?" And I didn't really. I thought of some questions I'd like to ask you, and that's about it.
That's great. Oh,
yeah, I did. I did think that's all I thought about.
Okay.
Because I know you can do your job.
Yeah.
I don't need to do your job for you. So I just thought, but I'd like to know things.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a sticky beak.
Great. Please ask whenever you like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not normally prepared for that because, guests might not tell me in advance if they want to ask me questions. They might want to just ask me in the flow of the conversation. You know who's great at asking questions?
Sweeney.
He's so good at asking questions.
Well, that's where I got the idea from. He asked you questions all through that podcast.
I wouldn't shut up because he just kept on asking
me. Fantastic.
He was like a volley of questions.
Yeah. He's a psychologist.
Yeah.
He's taught that.
Yeah.
He's good though. And you know what his superpower is? Listening. He's taught me.
He's such a great listener.
And I'm old enough to be his mummy.
Yeah.
He's taught me to listen more. Like
really?
Deeply. Like I have to listen a lot in my work.
Yeah, of course.
But he has taught me this other level of being right there.
Yeah.
Do you know, I was reading this thing about it. I'm always studying all of this stuff. I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
I was lapping it up. I was reading a book recently and it said when you're talking to someone, because everyone's usually thinking about themselves as someone else is talking and how they could respond or what they think of what the person is saying.
Like jump in.
Yeah, or jump in,
Yeah.
or jump in, even worse. Disappear yourself. You should disappear when you're talking to somebody. When you're listening, to someone. You should disappear in that moment. It's just them.
Is that something he said?
No.
Okay. So that
I should give it to him, shouldn't I?
Or is that sort of like an insight that you've sort of gathered as you've been listening more?
No, I read it. It's a line from a book.
Okay.
I'm sure I read it in a book recently. I read
yourself.
a lot. Disappear. You disappear. It's just them.
Yeah.
I think it stood out because I'd had this. Sweeney and I text each other, and we were texting about you and me coming on this because he was wrapped.
He says hi, by the way.
Fantastic. And so we've just started these lovely texts that are like, he started saying what I've taught him. And so I thought I'll tell you what you teach me. And we
that's
just
so
have these
beautiful.
lovely little texts.
That's such a beautiful exchange.
Isn't that amazing?
I love that.
Yeah.
Especially between people from like you just said, you're old enough to be his mum.
Yeah,
right?
I am.
Like I think, in traditional,
A young mum.
yeah, I believe it. Please.
An older sister. Much older sister.
Where are we we'll settle with older sister.
Yeah.
But I think, in life where, that whole traditional kind of way of seeing the world of like respect your elders and that the chain of wisdom, it's a one-way street and it's top down. And I think, when I hear things like this, like,
Bottom up.
yeah, that it's a two-way street.
Everywhere. It's not even two-way.
Mm.
It's 5 ways. 10.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And I think that's one of the, like, you're reminding me of something that I was really mindful of when my kid was born. And I was like really like a fish out of water, just trying, like my ex-partner was teaching me how to bathe a baby,
Bless.
and I was there just really learning a lot, really rather rapidly because like, as Sweeney would know, as soon as your first child is born, you're doing all this stuff for the first time and it's kind of a lot to just because they don't stop, they're always there. And, I thought to myself as she was sort of starting to become from a little chubby baby to a toddler, I was thinking, I just can't wait till she starts teaching me things.
She already was.
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
every day.
She is, and she was.
She's growing you big time.
Yeah, and that's a really beautiful thing to appreciate. I'm so glad you have that kind of connection with Sweeney. Also, now I feel obliged that I'm going to have to get Chloe on the third wheel of this entire.
She's a bit shyer than
yeah,
Sweeney and I.
I'm sure.
She lets us.
That's not a request. That's just kind of me thinking, wow, I've got 2 out of the 3 chitter chatters. That's pretty good.
You do need the trifecta. And I said to Chloe, because you do a podcast, Kristi, and I said, well, you'll be the first on it. She said, oh no.
Really?
Yeah, because she's got the whole. I'm
She's your next
sure
one.
she's
Yeah,
my brother's daughter.
Yeah.
She's his only daughter, and she's beautiful. I'm not allowed to say she's my favorite.
Well,
Because their whole family will end up listening to this. So
Yeah.
they're all beautiful, my nieces. They're amazingly different. But by 3, I'm the youngest of 4. So I have nieces and nephews who have got babies. I'm a great aunt. People keep telling me that's like being a grandma. I don't know about that. But anyway, great aunt. So now, yes, Oliver, Sweeney and Chloe's child, is my great nephew. So
Wow.
there's 4 of us.
right. Yeah.
You have to have Ollie on. So
Yeah.
he's getting a good grip on it.
Well, this is the second time he's being mentioned.
He's the coolest dude on the planet, that kid.
Is he?
He is so calm
Really?
and cool.
Sweeney said that. Yeah.
He is so calm and cool. But I think Sweeney's calm. But Chloe's got, when you meet her, you'll realise she's got this lovely gentleness in the world, about being in the world. And a beautiful mindset and filled with love and giving and gratitude. And they're both, Sweeney and Chloe, are very wise young people.
Sweeney's in his mid-30s or something, isn't he?
Chloe's just 30, so
Right, okay.
maybe.
It's a nice thing to talk about or to say about people around that age, that they've got this wisdom, because
yeah.
I think today we can get so caught up in all of the noise. There's so much noise around us all the time that, like, when do we have time to develop this wisdom? you know. And I think it's having great influences in your life, like an aunt or good family. Or, yeah. Obviously, they're
Just the
educated as
aunt.
well. Just the aunt. Just the
They-
one good.
They are educated and they're just, but I think it's a choice as well.
Yeah.
I like to pay people the choice.
Mm.
You choose to do this growth work.
Yeah.
Sorry, world, but most people, we're walking around asleep. We're kind of like the Walking Dead a little in that really, and that's not a criticism because I'm one of them. I'm people. I'm human. But you have to choose to do the work to be aware, for conscious awareness in this life, which is all growth is about. You have to choose it. And at that young age, I think, 30, I just have great hope for the planet getting better and better when people at that age are choosing to have, because at that age, I think too, in your 30s, people are getting married and having kids. And if you're not, you kind of, because there's all this compliance and convention around what you should be doing. They don't get into that. I think that's a little unusual. So
It is.
they'll come to their aunts for dinner rather than go out and,
Watch maths.
well, they might watch maths. But, they're not out drinking and boozing. I mean, I know they've got a kid now, but they were never like that. They just, I was kind of.
So was I.
Maybe not as much in my 30s, my 20s, definitely. I was engaged in my 30s, so I got a bit sort of sobered up a little
Yeah.
and then got unengaged. So,
Yeah.
then went for it
Unengaged.
again. Well, I didn't get unengaged, actually. I pulled out of the wedding 8 weeks before.
Oh.
Hi, Ron.
Oh.
He'll be listening to this.
Why do I feel that? Why does that sting so
Well,
much?
I think
I'll tell you why.
I think we pulled out.
Yeah, okay.
I
Okay.
mean, I probably,
You think?
I don't think he was okay about it. I don't think he would have he just probably wouldn't have made the move. It wasn't going to be right for us. I just knew.
We're only a few minutes into actually getting to know each other, and you've already given me insight into, you have life experience, and you don't shy away from talking about some of the less highlighty sides of it. I'm wondering how you develop that, or how you feel so comfortable to talk about stuff like that, because I know people, that are just, they would never talk about a failure in their life or something that you went,
Or my client.
yeah, yeah, right.
Failure.
Hmm.
It's a dirty word in leadership.
Why is it such a dirty word when we know that the pathway to success is laced in failure? You know what? Like it's a bizarre concept to me.
Because people don't know that.
Oh,
They don't know that. And what a beautiful quote. The path to success is laced in failure. Put that in a book. They don't know.
but doesn't like Tony Robbins and everyone say that all the time? Like I it's not from me. I mean, like it is from personal experiences as well. But like also I've heard people say that all the time. Like fail fast. You know?
The Americans love that, though. I mean, the Americans put failure on the map for us all, really. They love failure. They see it as success, they celebrate failure. So they're very good at it. They're very different people. They're very different culturally, their upbringing. And where, Australians are interesting. We're interesting.
Yeah.
We are...
British colony.
Yeah, and we're not, we're tall poppy syndrome. We really do have that, a pretty hard case of that in Australia.
Mhm.
Although apparently, says one of my brand new New Zealand friends recently, tells me much worse in New Zealand.
I was literally thinking that when you were saying that we've got it pretty hard in Australia, because
Much worse.
I've been hearing it from Kiwis as well.
They're like, you got nothing on us.
Yeah. And I'm like, I would not survive New Zealand society. Like,
I'm too sensitive.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm probably more afraid of success than failure, to be honest with you. We'll get to that one.
Should I start jotting these down?
You should take notes, dude. Seriously. You're getting a free coaching session.
I need
You're
it.
getting a freebie from Kristi Louise Russell.
Wow. Kristi Louise.
Kristi Louise.
Wow.
Because my grandma used to say Kristi Lulu.
You know, I invited Sween on the podcast for a free psych assessment, right?
Well, why he should.
Well, I mean, his brain is like the way he thinks. just comes out in
Unbelievable.
his questions, you know, and the way
Deep.
we got along
deep.
so well.
Because you're
I
deep.
love the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Sorry, but
He's beautiful.
I won't take notes. We won't go on a
No.
tangent. You wanted to answer
So,
that question.
Well, I mean, you asked me the question, and it's personality plays a big role, like our identity. So you can listen to and read all the Anthony Robbins stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's awesome. You know, Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul, and I think you can read all these books. There's so many of them. My library is filled with them and has been pretty much since the 80s in my 20s,
Okay.
when I didn't really know this that I know now, how I'd be using it, because I was in like a little marketing assistant role. But I was always in the HR department or, you know, dealing with the people stuff and so interested in reading Louise Hay.
Yeah, Louise Hay.
Do you know Louise Hay?
Yeah,
Right?
she's one of the original kind of affirmation coaches.
Original. Her book came out. Well, she's not with us anymore. But her view was we all start from a place of not loving ourselves, which is true.
Relatable.
Yeah, very relatable, very human. And I can tell you a bit about that too. So I deal with a lot of, I guess, executive level, you know, leaders. There's a lot of fear of failure.
Yeah.
So, you
The
know,
stakes are high at
the
that.
stakes are absolutely high. That's what I said. That's my quote. You stole that line from
I'm
me.
sorry.
The stakes are higher.
Mhm.
It's so true. And it's very competitive.
We might steal each other's quotes. I feel like we're a bit on the same wavelength.
Yeah, totally.
So it might just I might snatch a few
Yeah,
from
yeah.
this end, and from that end of the
Yeah.
mic, you can snatch some of mine. So
Yeah, laced with failure. I'm using it.
I love it. Please.
Not arsenic, failure. And people go, you may as well say arsenic. A lot of it is...
You're afraid of failure.
The fear where does it come from? So from, you know, you can read all this stuff and get into it. And I started in the 80s and I still went through all the shit that I've been through and all the amazing stuff as well I've been through. Fearing failure. So I guess it's when you're ready. It's when you're really ready to do the growth work. And that's a lot of inner work. All growth work is inner work, right? It's an inner game. Not everyone's up for it. Most people aren't, really. It's confronting and painful. And so
Yeah, it is.
unless they do that work, and that means, you know, when you work with someone like me, you're going to do that inner work. So I specialize in the Enneagram. So I work a lot with, it's the best. I have a huge toolkit, right? I'm accredited in a lot of psychometric tools, but the Enneagram is all I use now.
You've got to remind me, because I read this book about the Enneagram a little while back. I mean, 6 years ago, and I loved it.
It's brilliant.
But I've kind of lost it.
Well, I'm going to get you back onto it because last night I thought I should have sent you a link to do the Enneagram. And then I went out for dinner and forgot.
I've done it before.
A real one or just an online?
One from a book.
Yeah, so it'll be like a pop quiz.
Yeah.
It won't be the real depth of it. I'll get you to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is going to be fun.
It's a very
I love this
in-depth,
stuff too.
it's a very deep tool. It's a very spiritual tool.
Yeah.
You know, we're careful with that word in corporate life, spiritual.
Absolutely. We have to
But
be.
we shouldn't be. Well, I don't know. I think it's just, what is spiritual is just everything you can't see.
I agree, but it can be so easily misconstrued.
With a religion, I think there's a thing,
Yeah.
Australians are funny with religion. We don't like talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're religious, they have a fear of talking about it because someone will judge them. I have Catholic friends who say that. I have Jewish friends that say that. I don't talk about my faith. I'm like, well, talk to me about it. But you're not religious. I'm not. I'm like, but I'm so interested. Tell me everything. But again, people not being who they are. Because, you know, we've got this whole kind of, well, we're oppressed, right? We're English, really.
Yeah.
Poms. We're very repressed. But anyway, we're also fabulous. We like got bullshit detectors kilometres long in Australia. We're kind of pretty straight up as well.
Yeah. I read that on your website, one of the quotes from like a testimonial that you're a straight shooter.
Yeah. I like those. I really need to update my website. It's a couple of years old, about 3 years old. But
She tells it to you straight.
yeah, I do get that. And I used to get people used to ring me and
love
say,
that.
I've been referred to you because you're brutal.
I love that.
Well, I stopped being brutal.
Really?
Because you can be direct and straight and not brutal with people.
I think I'm learning
I
that.
challenged myself with it, put it that way. I kept getting it and I wore it as a badge of honour. And then I thought, I don't want to be brutal in this world.
Doesn't have to be like that. That's part of your evolution on how to communicate the things. It's great.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the personality specialisation with the Enneagram that I work with has taught me a lot about why people are afraid of failure.
Okay.
And it's their identity. I will only be valued if I'm successful. I'll be liked more if I'm successful. I'll be loved more if I'm successful. I'll get bigger jobs, be paid more money, bigger things. I mean, it's the Western model.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. We've
We're
been
indoctrinated.
conditioned to feel like that. And I think a big part of that, like, where does it come from? It doesn't come from family life necessarily, but once we get into like the, maybe.
Nature, nurture. I'd say most of it comes from the moment you're born and into, well, you can be born with like your parents' characteristics, behaviours, all sorts of traits. It's interesting what comes through DNA.
That's
it's fascinating.
So funny. What did she call it? Something about like the study of DNA traits.
And what comes through.
Yeah.
All manner of stuff. But then the nurture part is you're in this environment. You're trapped. You're a helpless being. And so you have to survive your childhood. And the young psyche says, you can't, you asked for something or you cried and you didn't get something. It's painful. Let me give you some strategies to survive childhood. And those strategies, fast forward to today, we're still using the same strategies we did for survival when the threats are long gone. It's because it just becomes habitual. And that's how our personalities are our frontline defence, essentially. They're not who we are. It's what we identify with, though.
So deep.
So deep. Oh, yeah. You're in deep territory now, Louis. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
You asked for it. You got it.
Well, this is great. It is in line with a lot of what I've been thinking lately, trying to understand how I can navigate, like I have a job in the corporate world in recruitment and
Yeah, I read about that.
like I feel like it's a challenge for me daily to understand how I can continue to try and be myself, the version that I kind of am here, which is I'd say the most of myself that I'll ever be. I think if I sort of take what you're saying, which is like we're not showing who we truly are, then I'd say when I'm doing this, it's the best version of myself and the most authentic version. Then there's other
How does that
other
feel?
sides of me. Feels great. It feels liberating. But then you sort of go back to work on Monday and you're like,
why?
how do I what? Yeah, I just don't know that other people haven't done the work and aren't doing the work too. So they're still used to that other paradigm. They still expect you to behave that certain way, that conditioned way. Like you said, we've been conditioned. It could be from family. I think it comes largely from education and grades, like that's what an A student does. And then it goes into tertiary education where I've been working with next to this guy, not with him, next to him. He does recruitment as well, but he does legal recruitment, right? And he's like, okay, only the students with the toppest marks from Melbourne or Monash will be able to get into those firms. And I'm like, so there's this elitism everywhere around us.
You're paid to discriminate in recruitment.
Yeah.
I was in recruitment in the 90s.
I saw
at
that.
Morgan and Banks.
I saw that. I was like, how did Kristi go from recruitment into this career path? I'm so curious. Like, I mean, you started giving us some insight before. You love people. You're a people person.
Yeah. I like the people stuff, the human condition. And look, even as a kid, my mum would laugh. She's going to laugh when she hears this. And she would, if you asked her, she would tell you. I was always, get to know all the neighbours and I'd just knock on their door and hang out. And often with, neighbours that didn't even have kids.
Nice.
Adults. And I'd just hang out with them.
Yeah.
And I always felt almost like a peer. Yeah. I would talk about anything. I think it made many of them uncomfortable, but most of them quite liked having me. I think it was, and so I think some of them were lonely because in those days women were at home a lot and men were at work. So I was fascinated. So I asked a lot of questions and I was just so interested. And mum's dinner parties, like the other three siblings would just go to their rooms and I'd beg mum can I serve things when people come? Because it was like all the kids go away. All the beautiful food is for the people coming. We get to lick the bowls and things too. So I was allowed to serve drinks and hors d'oeuvres and everything, and I would chat to everyone. I wanted to be part of it. And then I'd have to leave.
I can relate to that. I'm not sure if it was in my childhood, but definitely in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. I think I sort of just liked hanging out with older people and just figuring it out. My first project at university was a short documentary on elderly people that do ballroom dancing. And I just went the first week without a camera, just danced with them. And I just had such a good time.
How fantastic.
But it was because I danced with them in that first week that when I came back with the camera the second week, they were all really comfortable. And after I released the documentary and sent them DVDs and VHS copies, because some of those people didn't have, this is 2005, didn't have DVD players, they said to me, wow, we've had other people come and do documentaries here before, but this one was just so much better than all the others. And I was trying to, I was reflecting on why, but I asked why, and they were like, oh, I think everyone just felt comfortable with you. And so they were giving you more insights and more information. They were smiling more because they sort of felt who you were. And I think when you talk about that side of you, that younger side of you, being sort of where it all started, I'm having this thought about, the signs that someone is interested in doing inner work is really evident by their desire for information, their curiosity, the questions that they ask. I think if you speak to some people and they don't seem interested, they don't ask a lot of questions, they can appear closed off. But if you want to see someone just on a very surface level that is trying to do some inner work, have a look at the people that are asking the most questions.
Yeah. Well, it opens people up. Lots of people don't like being asked questions. That's an interesting one. I was married to someone who doesn't. He's still alive. He's a good friend.
Where do you think that comes from?
He finds it intrusive. So it's a personality style. Because this is the problem with me. I know everyone's personality styles because I've assessed them all in my life, and so it's not all of that, but it's easy for me to go to that. Put it this way, and to help me understand. Now I wouldn't have back then, but I do now. And a lot of the trouble with the challenges we had in our marriage was because of me asking so many questions and wanting to know things and wanting more of it. And, high introverted person, extroverted, different that way as well. His energy is all within and mine's like, I'm right here, let's go. And so, yeah, but his personality style, they find the world intrusive.
Yeah.
Style 5s. They find the world intrusive and energy sapping, and they find people's emotions. They fear their own emotions and others in many respects. They kind of tough it out. They kind of like show this toughness, but they're one of the most sensitive of all the 9 Enneagram styles.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're very protected. So the more sensitive we are, the more protected we tend to be.
I can relate to a lot of that, and I could relate to my past relationship. She was like hammering me with questions, and I was like, please stop.
Yeah, poor Kev. Sorry, Kev, if you're hearing this. I am going to send it to you so you're hearing this.
Kev, I feel you.
Kev.
I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. It's like I wanted to reach down inside him and give me something. Yeah. Give me more.
I feel like we eventually are ready to give you what you want, just not in the moment that you're demanding it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I learned all that later when it was all over.
Yeah. How much do we learn in hindsight?
I know, so much.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favourite moments from the conversation with Sweeney was, when he was talking about rumination versus problem solving. And I was
Oh, yes. He sent me a lot of stuff on that, actually.
Yeah, okay.
I love that. It's his favourite, one of his big topics.
Yeah.
Rumination, OCD, and
Yes.
As a psych, yeah.
That's right. And he asked me, like, well, what I felt the difference was. I don't know if I had that profound of an answer, but I think we got to the point where we understand that they sort of cross over. And what Sweeney said was that, like, I think rumination kind of detracts value from your life, when problem solving kind of adds value. But they do cross over, the more you think about something, like,
it's not problem-solving rumination, really.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I mean...
But the activity of it is very similar.
It probably is. It's thinking.
Yeah.
But with clients, with executive teams, I say, look, if you want to learn how to problem-solve rather than just ruminate on stuff, which just goes around and round and round, whereas if you're solving... You're moving forward. You're not just staying in a loop. So there's that. Just put an hour aside. Just say, we're just going to problem solve. How about we're just going to think together? We're not allowed to complain about anything. We're not allowed to talk about what's wrong. We're only going to come up with ideas about what could help. That's it. And if someone starts saying, oh, yeah, but when this happened and that, we're going to go, I don't know, barramundi. The whole room will go and you have to stop, whatever. Some of them come up with these funny words. And then they laugh because you don't want to say, no, you're not allowed to do that, right? You just say barramundi and he goes, oh yeah, I was doing that thing. And so you just, these are fun, easy hacks.
Yeah.
To move out of rumination, because you're sitting there talking about rumination is, you're mostly ruminating on something that bothers you.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And problem
Yeah.
solving is it's also to have an attitude towards problem solving that if you didn't have problems, you wouldn't have a job. So you get to do this. How exciting is that? Let's solve this, mother.
Yeah, that's true. You could always bail out, if it gets too hard.
Well, if you're in a business that you want it to keep growing, because
Yeah.
business, there can't be any end. It has to keep
That's
going.
true. And it's always
It's not
growth.
a game with an end. There's
Yeah.
no winning and losing. You got to keep it going. That's why I say competition in business internally is a zero game. Don't compete with each other.
Wow, it's funny you say that because I see a lot of it.
Well, honestly, it keeps me in a job. So, keep doing it. Keep ruminating and feeling like you're not enough. And, good for me.
Yeah. Rouse.
I really don't. I don't like people suffering. I have suffered. You have suffered. We all do, and it's part of the human condition. I mean, Buddha said all life is suffering, but people forget that there's about 5 paragraphs after that.
The but.
After the and.
Uh-huh.
I don't think Buddha ever said but just and because and blah blah blah. And there's a lot. I mean, I love reading all the Buddha stuff.
Yeah.
But
So funny. Yeah.
and
That's so funny. Buddhism comes up from time to time. Yeah.
Well, for me, like I'm non-denominational in anything. Although if I was going to call myself anything, I'd be happy to call myself a Buddhist. I just don't think I've earned that. But I don't really subscribe to having a name or have to have that sort of identity of anything really. And not saying it's right or wrong. Like I never think I'm right. I'm like, this is how things make sense to me. And the only thing I could say is it's because I'm so into growth 24/7, it's spiritual, right? Because growth is an inner game and everything internal is a spiritual game, really. It's unseen. We have to make it more seen, though.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you talk about all this, knowing the sort of arena that you normally play in and, listening to you talk
corporate
about
life, right?
spirituality.
It's scary for leaders, this stuff.
It is,
But I'm not afraid to talk about it anymore. That's the difference. And that's where you're at. You're afraid to be who you hear, what you're like. I was in recruitment and I get it because I would have been more like that. But I'm in the corporate world still. I work with all, I was going to say the nuts, but they're not. That's a really mean thing. I'm sorry, clients. You're the best. They're amazing, highly talented, amazing, high achieving people. But they're suffering and they're suffering a lot. And so it does feel a bit nutty at times. I think people think, they're going crazy at times.
Well, I think, if we break it down, like to get to it, like those elite levels of anything, whether it's sports or, business.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of time that gets invested, a lot of sacrifices that are made.
Stakes are high.
Yep. But
Money's big.
Yep, money's big for sure. But I think,
Importance, status.
it comes at the cost of other things.
Power.
Yeah.
Of course it does. Everything does. So
Like
choose things that
family
don't
life
have.
or friendships or
a lot.
personal development.
I could, give you pages of the costs because I deal with them every day. But yours is at a cost too. So the thing I was thinking about, just to finish off that thread with you at work, is that the only difference is you're not afraid here, but there you are. So just everything you want is on the other side of your fear there.
Yeah, I love that.
You would be, I see people in business all the time, so I know what you can kind of get away with and can't. You'll get away with it, I promise.
Interesting.
People will love it and they'll want more of it. And men get away with it more than women. Yeah, I had to say it, I'm sorry. Generally, I'm massive generalization.
Yeah.
I am not a man basher at all. I'm a feminist, but I would hope we're all feminists, which just means equality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe the whole, we are gendered in Australia. They've done a lot of research around the world on countries' gendered type attitudes. And Australia, we're right up there.
Really?
Yeah, and we're also one of the most ageist countries on the planet. We're right up there in the top 5.
Interesting.
We're very ageist here. And we are gendered, but look, I would say...
I mean, I'm in a bubble, so...
Gender's everywhere. The gender thing is everywhere.
course.
So my view is it's our problem, all of ours.
Yeah.
It's not a male problem.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting that caveat out there. I've had the privilege of observing it for so long, and it's tough to watch.
That's interesting.
Women allow also... Let's pretend for a moment. This will be fun.
Okay.
This is going to be running the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about for a moment you represent all men on the planet?
Okay, sure.
And how about I represent all women on the planet? Just for a minute, for
Okay,
fun.
let's do it.
Like it's a
I'm
movie
scared
and it's
of
not
where this is
real.
gonna go.
It's not real.
I
No,
love
it's
it.
not scary.
I love it.
It's
Come
not scary. I just was thinking about it.
on.
and I thought that
Represent
sounded like
all
fun.
men, represent
I'm
all
representing
women.
all women.
Okay.
I think we as women are more, we allow other people to set our limits for us,
Other people.
to define our limits for us a lot more, I think, than men do. I mean, you're a man
that
and
makes
you're in
sense.
business, but you are, and you actually are letting people define your limits by not being yourself, right? So
Yeah.
we're just pretending that I'm representing all women, but generally I do find a lot of my work, the difference between women and men is that we are letting other people define our limits. It's like we just go, oh, okay. I mean, I talked about a podcast with a friend in Sydney recently, doing it. We've been like so excited about doing one together.
Yeah.
An ex-client of mine, and hi Rach, she's awesome. And we keep talking about it, and we get excited, and someone will come along. Every single conversation we'd have, and then someone would just we might say it to them, and they no la la, and it would be like la 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 la, and it would be a male going no because of this, this, and this, and we go okay. Okay. And you wonder why I haven't done a podcast. It's like every 3 years for the last 20, well, whenever podcasts started anyway, a friend of mine now and then, I'd be across the table and they'd say, Kristi, you have things to say. You should do a podcast. I'm like, apparently, yeah, thanks. And I might go home or go to someone and say something about it, and I'll be like, I have to say most of my female friends have always said, yeah, go for it. But there'd be someone that'd be like, no. I don't think so. And I would listen to that.
It's wild. I mean,
It's
I don't
interesting,
think it's
isn't it?
exclusive to women. Like I think
Right.
you pointed out that
You're representing all men.
Yeah. Well, I am, and I'd say that I see men everywhere, including myself, that we sort of feel confined to a certain way of being through certain limitations.
Yeah.
I think it's not just exclusive to women, although I can.
And I didn't say it was
sympathise with
exclusive, just so you know.
Yeah, no.
I think we need to put that out there because I don't believe it is. But it's an interesting one.
Yeah. But also, I think the way men and women are sort of conditioned throughout history, I think if we go back to the sort of cave people, I think
it's evolution.
we think about where I think about why that might be, and I would say that I think women are more conditioned by themselves and each other to be more socially capable, more socially driven than men. Like men, I think in general, as I'm representing all men, are less socially capable than women are. Women are great at banding together. Women are great at sort of just galvanizing rapidly and, shooting for a cause. It's remarkable,
It really is. That's great. Yep.
My ex was, I called her a social weapon. 'Cause she could just walk in everywhere, dazzle everyone. And, I would feel like, whoa, she's driving this. Like, I'm just going to let her lead this whole social interaction. And she would be like, hello, expecting me to do the same and be the same. But the truth is that I'm just not wired that way and I can't. And I think men in general, and evidence of that today is like what happens when relationships break up, for example. You see men just fall to pieces and alone. And you see women, like I said before, they just get their community. They galvanize. They start going out. Suddenly it's girls' night again. And they just move on so quickly. And so if we bring it back to what you're talking about around how, the flip side of that coin is that because you're so socially aware and capable, that the downside of it is that you're less inclined to take risks that will impact your social status, if that makes sense. Whereas as a male, I might be like, well, fuck it, I've got nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got nothing, so I've got nothing to lose. And I can feel that.
What do you mean by that? You've got nothing?
I think sometimes the feeling, especially as I've gotten older, I hit 40 last year. The feeling of loneliness can just
For
really...
you, at the ripe old age of 40.
Yeah, well, no, I think I'm just
the
saying
F
relative.
word is coming into my mouth. And there's the off word after it.
Yeah, F off. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, you know, like as opposed to when I was in my 30s or 20s, like kind of like how you were reflecting before.
Because you can edit this, right? So I could just say,
I try not to.
okay. I could just said fuck off. But that would have been rude to say it to you because you're so lovely.
I've heard worse.
I get permission from my clients to swear in sessions all the
You've
time.
got permission from me. Let's call this a session. But yeah, I feel like the feeling of loneliness can really grip you. I'm not sure if that's relatable for everyone, but I know a lot of guys that have started talking about it. Mental health, it comes up a lot. That feeling of loneliness, and that feeling of loneliness is kind of like a feeling of lack. It's like I'm lacking social connections. I'm lacking, you know, goals or dreams or desires or something like that. The feeling of loneliness kind of can just grip you. It's like it
so interesting. Yeah, social connections, yes, but goals and things, because it's such a different way of thinking, and I'm assuming that all your men think differently to all my women in the world.
But
and yet on a human level, we are actually all the same.
Yeah.
I think though that's where I remember when when Kevin and I broke up, he was partnered very quickly.
Really?
Yeah, because he had never been alone.
Yeah.
I was the second marriage, and so he'd never been alone. So we met first wife at uni, so you move out from home, you get married, then you meet someone else and you move. We hear it a lot, and we know that there's a lot of men's work and groups being done on this because it's relationships and emotions essentially. And in Australia, we teach our boys very young to man up and don't show emotions, right? We reward little girls when they cry. Oh, come here, darling, sweetie, what happened? And boys like, come on, you can handle it. Man up. I mean, it's all changing, but it's not too rapidly. And so these are the, and this is how they grow into adults with an inability to really fully express themselves emotionally. And women get the tag of being emotional because they're able to express their emotions generally.
Yeah, and it's part of their superpower of being socially, elite.
Well, and it must start early, I mean, we're talking about evolution, but women have babies, they have to connect and bond to them, they grow them. For a long time, they stayed home with them. They raised children. Men didn't. So men were often disconnected to their children. Women had the love and the care and the nurturing. So this is all a part of it, to be recognised and not criticised at all.
100%.
And I'm not, when I speak, I do have, like people will say I have strong opinions.
I never would have thought that.
And I don't think I'm right. I put the emphasis on opinion.
Yeah. I'm
not presenting facts. Some things are, but mostly we're just different in our views of things. And I have my view, and it's interesting you think, though, that because I sound like the extrovert, right? So you're assuming I'd be very sociable.
Yeah, I would assume that you would have to have a higher level than average social capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can talk to anyone.
Yeah, which is like a gift. That's a gift.
I can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
However, I don't like being in large rooms of people and I talk to one person. I will find a person in a corner.
Cling on.
And that'll be it. Yeah. Like at our family dinners, I'll often just sit. I'll start with anyone.
Yeah.
And then I'll end up sitting with Chloe and Sweeney because I can get into that sort of comfortable, what for me is what's comfortable and deep and easy, and I'm not worried about what they think of it. Whereas, there's lots of people in my family that are not into that, and that's absolutely okay. They don't want to get deep with me, and I understand that. There was probably a time many, many decades ago where I didn't understand that. I used to get right into it, and people would just be like...
Relatable.
But I'm actually quite withdrawn. I have to make an effort to get out and socialise. Can you believe it?
This is wild for me to hear this.
Yeah, I'm a style 4.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
We're a withdrawn style. So yes, I have high feeling. It would be feeling, thinking, action probably with me. You would be thinking, probably action, feeling.
Ooh,
maybe.
yeah.
Who knows? We'll see.
We're
going to find out. All this gets broken down in the Enneagram I have.
Feeling,
Who knows? But and you asked me the question around why I was like this, even as a young girl, going next door and talking to the neighbour about deep and meaningful stuff, and even teaching a young neighbour. She was 18, she got married, 19, I was 12. taught her how to cook. I taught her so many things in life. It was so interesting. I never even thought about it, though. I just thought that's who I was. That's how I am. But it was lonely in some respects because that's what I liked. But not everyone was up for that, so it felt lonely. So I grew up, and also it was intense for people. Like depth, we're deep, but depth is intense, is turned into, oh, you're intense. I've been called intense a lot.
Same.
Emotional and intense.
Yeah.
Right. So I shut it, I didn't have to, but I shut it down for a long,
Oh, you
at
did?
times I felt like I had to. And then I just thought, well, that's just crazy. And plus it, so I doubled down even more and got into it with my work.
Nice.
Like coaching was just all about behaviour. Now I deal with the unconscious drivers of behaviour. So I go much deeper.
I love that.
So I'm just double downing. Is that a word?
Doubling down?
Doubling down,
Yeah.
thank you.
Did you remember the point where you went from sort of quelling it to feeling like, no, hang on,
Can't do it.
I'm doubling down.
Oh, I'm doubling down. Look, I think I've had so many. If you could I would punctuate my entire life with those moments.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I keep reading these books and I love them. And everyone says, you should have a podcast and you should write a book, Kristi. You have a podcast, write a book, Kristi. La, 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 that's what I get. And I've got lots of writing because I write a lot. Every day I do some writing about anything. Could be about the book I'm reading, could be about you, coming on a podcast, could be about anything, right?
It's like a journal?
People call it journaling, but, it's writing.
Yeah.
I think it's just really good for me and it gets things out. And when I get flowing, I am amazed at what comes out.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Nice.
this is good.
Flow.
I don't need to write a book. I will just, flow.
Yeah.
I will just hand this journal, I don't care what you call it. It's actually the photo album actually for my wedding that Kevin and I never put our pictures in because they're all went digital in that time.
Yeah.
So they've never been done. So, those beautiful leather bound, it's just amazing. So I write on all the pages. Yeah. It's gorgeous. I just can't take it everywhere. I hand it to someone, so I put a book together out of that. But I struggle a little bit with the narratives of people's lives. I love knowing the narratives.
So symbolic. I'm just thinking about the
whole that people come up with in these books. I'm reading at the moment. I was going to ask you your favourite book at the moment. Mine at the moment, I'm on my third read. So if I get something and it resonates with me, I want to master it. And it's all work stuff as well because I'll just reverse engineer everything I'm doing into my client work. And so Never Play It Safe by Chase Jarvis.
Never heard of
You
it.
can only be American if your name is Chase.
Yeah, that's so true. That's
Anyway,
so true.
he was recently interviewed by Rich Roll. You would know Rich Roll.
Yeah, I know Rich Roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rich loves interviewing really interesting people.
Yeah.
And Chase's book, he's an entrepreneur, interesting guy, really. And his book, Never Play It Safe, which of all, I keep reading books and Never Play It Safe. It's brilliant. I recommend it. Now, it's everything I know and have known. And this is the thing too. I used to read books and always have because I'm an educator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably the most overqualified coach in the country. I've been called that. I was called that by someone a long time ago, and it's true. I just can't. It's like, okay, there's
Just
more.
learning. It's like an addiction.
Learning and growing it. It is an addiction.
gotta
It's a
feed.
habit, and I love it.
Yeah. You've got to feed this desire to keep learning.
But then you got to action it. You got to do something with it.
Well, that's
when
true.
you've made it your job, right?
That's
as
true.
well as your personal work, it's your professional work. So it's like, okay, well, there's the feeling and thinking, but let's get some action happening.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll stay with Chase for a moment. But I read the books and I'm like, it's everything everyone is saying in many respects something similar and they're just expressing it in their own way. And I think it's the expression of something and what ends up resonating with you and kind of landing on you that in a moment, just in one moment, it's like, oh, okay, for some reason I've known all this for a long time, but this is just all really coming together for me. And that's what this book's done.
Culminating.
It just came at the right time when I'm like in that, I'm playing it safe is why. You ask why. I've never been on a podcast. Well, there's one of the answers. And haven't written a book, and there's another one of the answers, and there's many answers to it. And it just got to me. So I thought I'm on my third listen. I've got it on Audible and hard copy. And I thought
Okay, third listen's always.
third listen.
That means it's good.
And I even sit down and sometimes I just put my earpods in and I write as I'm listening to it. So it got the juices going. And
Is this a recent publication?
yeah. In fact, I don't even think the hard copy's available yet. I think I've got it on back order. It's an easy read. He wrote it and he was about to publish and he stopped and he went back and rewrote it.
For a reason. There must be a reason
Oh,
behind that.
his book tells you why.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Yeah. Chase, I just want you to know if you hear this that I'm available to coach you. And you probably can coach me too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been really practicing a lot of the tools and techniques from that.
Yeah, interesting.
That one and Atomic Habits.
My daughter was reading that one.
Atomic Habits is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And James Clear. He's done a brilliant job with that. It just took off.
Yeah.
And I think what he's got going, he's got a real formula, he's got a system, because it really, his view would be, forget the goal and the outcome. You have to really fall in love with the process and the system. You've got to get really good at that, right? That's the whole key of it. And I'm not good at, most people aren't good. I mean, goals are like this, a gold for people. If you don't have a goal, you're buggered. You've got to have an outcome.
I do struggle to answer that question when people are like, what's your goal? Where are you trying to take this? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
me too.
I'm so in the weeds of the process.
Me too.
And I'm like actually enjoying it that I don't know. Like, can you just make up the goal bit for me? I'm just going to look, I've got to be at a recording. I've got to get my stuff into Hosier Lane. You know, like I've got to set it up and make sure it's clean. You know, I'm here in the weeds.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to go somewhere. Like, well, you don't know. But, you know, like I understand why it's hard for some people to be goal oriented. But I
don't think I've ever been. I have one and then I just do it. Like I don't have long goals. Like I had a goal of, when I was at Morgan & Banks, I wanted to do an MBA and they're very expensive. And I wanted to do it full time. And I did. So I set up as a goal, but I just did it. So they don't last long enough to feel like goals. So I think what James Clear is saying is that it is the process and the system that you set up, but I think it's also the direction it heads in.
love that.
I have to be really careful with that. I think that's my Achilles heel. I get too lost in it. I get too like, this is too much fun. Let's do more of it, more and more and more.
But you're a deep thinker, and so like I imagine that in process, a lot of things reveal themselves to you. A lot of insights are revealed to you in the process. So like, yeah, let's do more and more and more of this because I'm learning, and things are unfolding as I do more.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's true. And I do look at it much more, I'm able to look at this all much more positive of what's good, what I'm good at as well.
Yeah.
So style 4s, the other thing about 4s, they notice more what's wrong, what's going wrong, what they don't have versus what they do have.
That's not a good thing. That's not a positive thing.
What the upside of 4s, of that with a 4 is that they are the most comfortable with deep, dark emotions of all the Enneagram styles.
Okay.
So then it would make sense. I would start to make sense to you when you hear that.
Yeah.
We're just comfortable with them.
Are you
However,
diagnosing me? Is that what you
No.
call it?
No.
Or what do you call it when you figure out someone's Enneagram type? It's not a diagnosis.
Oh, have I thought about? I haven't thought about your style.
categorization.
Well, you said you're an introvert. You think you're introverted. Mind you, all the styles can be introverted or extroverted.
I teeter between the two. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I was
I was curious.